up, everybody? Hey, how you doing? So this is my quick review, very short. I try to keep this as brief as possible. My review, the Buck 110 Folding Hunter, the original one, versus the Kershaw Wildcat Ridge. This is the model with wood scales. There's also a version with horn, and serrated. It's a little bit serrated, grooved horn or something like that. And there's also a rubberized material. The bolsters are still stainless steel, but instead of smooth dark wood, it's some kind of waffle iron rubber pattern. So if you're like me, you have owned one of those knives and you're thinking about getting one or the other in addition to it, simply because you like one or the other very much. For me, it was the Buck 110 that I have owned first, and I absolutely love this knife. Also have, where are they? One is on my person right now, and another one is in the drawer. The Buck 110 Ecolite models. Simply because I love this blade so much. So I thought, an eBay seller had the Kershaw Wildcat Ridge for I think $17.99 in his store, and I thought, hey, that's a good price. I paid $13 for shipping, so $30 overall. I thought, hey, that's a good price for a knife, shipping included. And I tend to agree. It's a good price for this knife. But this is certainly a knife that cannot directly be compared to the Buck 110. Now, you saw that I have 3 Buck 110s, but I'm not exactly a fanboy. There are people who collect exclusively Buck 110s. I don't. I collect knives I like. I like this blade for its price, even for its price, especially for its price, I don't know, about 3 to 4 times as much as I like this knife for the price. So I'm just busting out this review because I am already trading it. Don't know yet for what, but person I contacted was definitely interested, simply because it is in pristine condition. It is brand new. Came in this package. I even have a scale here to compare those two. So just to get it out of the way, the sheath. This leather sheath has been broken in for the Buck knife. Of course, both knives fit in this sheath, but the Buck doesn't fit in that sheath because the Kershaw sheath, which is very nice. I really have to say it's very hard. It's not broken in, of course, because it's brand new. Has a nice snap button. It's form fitted. It's flat because the knife seems a lot flatter, but it is not flatter by much. It just appears a lot flatter because the handle is wider than the one on the Buck 10. The one on the Buck 10 is more rounded and a little bit thicker, and that definitely adds to the extremely good purchase of this knife. So the knife, the Kershaw, fits in that sheath tip up best because it's getting narrower to the bottom, and it's pretty wide on the butt, So I just have it tipped down in there, and the snap button closes really tight. So no rattle, no wiggle whatsoever. I like that the belt loop is so stiff in comparison to the Buck belt loop. It's a lot softer and wider, and it's just a lot of space in there, so it wiggles around on your belt when you carry it. This one not so much. Probably because it hasn't been broken in too much, but yeah, I don't know. So, and these marks are definitely, from the stainless steel bolster. Very good sheath. I really have to say that. Kershaw logo on there. And what looks really weird is that the Kershaw letters are engraved in there. I have never seen that before. They were always printed on there or laser edged or something, but looks kind of weird because it's so skinny. It's usually, you know, thick lettering. So, well, that's it. It's about the same size as the buck. It is made in China as opposed to made in USA. And it just says Kershaw Wildcat Ridge on that side and 3140 Whiskey, China. Stainless steel bolsters. There are stainless steel scales, and the bolsters are and the handle inserts are pinned onto that liner. The action of the knife is very, very good, although it has some minor flaws. Just quality control, you know, Chinese made. Has some scratch marks here, and somewhere the wood was very, very rough. Yeah, and here between the bolster, so to give you a comparison, this is a full piece of brass. Okay, so no thin liner and the other brass thing, you know, pinned onto there. It's full, it's cut out, milled out, so the wood insert would fit in there, and it is completely flush. Of course, the pins protrude a little bit from the outside. Here they are completely smooth. So this bolster is pinned on that liner. I don't know if you can see that, but there is a gap between the bolster and the liner. So that's just something to consider. Quality control wise, it's otherwise pretty flush. Yeah, right here there's a notch in the wood. Yeah, but besides that, the backlock is pretty much flush in there. Spring action is very good. You hear that click? So it's snappy, and of course you have the weight in your hand. It does feel good, although it feels a lot thinner or flatter, and the edges are not as rounded as on the Buck 110. Oh my god, we're already 7.5 minutes in this. So it's thicker and rounder, so you just get a lot better grip. And this is for me a belt carry knife, and this one as well. So I don't really mind the thickness of it, because it really doesn't, you know, not by much. It's not too bad. Having a thick knife, you know, beefy knife on your belt, in a belt holster, or a flat knife, thin knife, it doesn't really matter on the belt, you know. Sharpness wise, I had to strop that, and it wasn't enough. HCR 13 MOV as opposed to 420 HC, the Buck proprietary steel, which is fantastic. Great heat treat on that. On this one, not so much. Also, the grind on the Buck 110 is much leaner, comes to a very, very fine edge, you know, behind the edge. You don't feel the secondary bevel. On this one is quite thick. I have no means to measure that, but it is thick. You feel a certain amount of blade between your fingers, you know, right there on the edge. So the edge has definitely, you know, a higher angle or a lower angle. You know, Buck is about that, and the Kershaw feels like that. So I have some paper here. Of course, I stropped that. It's better now, but it's still not super good. This one has been used a lot, not stropped at all. Hey, that works better than I expected. Okay, awesome. If you're in for one of those knives, you don't own any of those yet, get the Buck. Get the Buck. If you already have the Buck, don't get the Kershaw. If you already have the Kershaw or a Schrade or whatever model, you like that, get the buck, you will like that even more. Maybe even sell your Schrade or Kershaw. I will trade this. Just got it last week. I will trade this. So overall, the buck wins, even though it is a little bit more expensive. Not by much though. Even at Walmart you can pick that up for $30, $35. That for 18, yeah, 18, but plus 12, 13 bucks shipping for me. If you can get that for $17, save the $17, pay a little bit extra, and get the buck instead. Even though this, you know, has jimping and it seems very functional and, you know, just better ergos than on the buck, I have large hands and I grip the knife right in the middle of the handle. And I really have to extend my finger to land on the jimping. Naturally, my thumb falls right behind the jimping, you know. I have to extend my finger a little bit nearer towards the tip. Oh my god, 11.5 minutes. One quality issue I have noticed on the buck though is that when you lay it on the spine, it tilts to this side because it is not rounded. Well, let me see if I can show you. I don't know if you can see that. So you have the rounding of the corner, I will call it corner, then flat, and then another rounded corner. But the flat is not flat, it has a slight angle, so when you set it down it doesn't stay like that, but it tilts to the side. I don't really mind, it's just something minor I noticed. Of course the bolster of the brass doesn't look as new as it once did, but this is not a new knife, not anymore. So if you want both knives, you know, still a free country, depends on where you are at least, get both. But having both knives, I kind of regret getting that. Of course, I can make this review for you to save you money. And yeah, I think that's it. Otherwise I will ramble on for another 12, 13 minutes. So I thank you very much for watching. Have a good night. Roll Tide.